and welcome to episode 301 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, a place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. I'm Vince Hunt, writer of MI666, and joining me as always are the creator of the webcomic Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And the man who's a walking controversy, but we love him anyway. No, he's the creator of Atomic Hercules and more, coming your way soon. It's Mr. Tony Esmond.
Yep, bummed again.
Oh, Tony, look. It'll be all right. It will all be all right.
Do you know what? I'm actually quite positive about it. I don't really care.
Yeah.
We'll get it out there, whatever happens. It's just
Tell
the
our listeners
the
what's
millennials well, we're currently, as we speak, we've just had our third email saying that we're being reviewed by Patreon, who won't launch us as we intended to launch on Friday, but we don't really know what's going on.
This is the Tribute Press Patreon that we
Tribute
talked about
Press,
for the past
starting with the
weeks,
George Mayhem that me and Daryl Thorpe have done, but it's. I don't know what's going on. It's probably a load of millennials who just can't be bothered to work over Easter. Do you know what I mean? Just send out these automated emails. But oh well, we'll see. Well, I've tweeted at them. We've sent them. There's very little way of contacting them. There's a sort of box you can fill in and send off, and we've tried that. And we'll see what happens. Oh well.
I mean, if you're catching up on this episode, probably a couple of weeks after it goes live properly, it's probably already available now. So
hopefully.
Yeah.
My wife said Easter Sunday is like Christmas, and I'd like to dispute that. It's not. It's nothing like Christmas. Christmas is pretty good. Easter's pretty. Yeah.
It's a bit boring, Easter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's good when you're like working and you have like the 4-day weekend, but now it feels like every fucking day's a 4-day weekend. You know what I mean? It's just...
I was desperate for this weekend. I've been like working like non-stop. And then it seems to have gone by in a blink.
Yeah,
I've been so busy doing crap, catching up on stuff. It's just sort of shot by.
Yeah.
Just goes, man.
Doing housey bits and gardening. Check me out.
I was in the garden too, man, doing the fucking mowing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We're going to form our own super team, aren't we, Dan?
I told you this at the Drink and Draw. Ladies like the dad bod, don't they?
Yeah.
The DIY dad, they like that.
The Drink and Draw. Yes, we might as well say this now. Thank you very much again to Tom Curry for hosting this week's Drink and Draw, which has just happened. That was good fun.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Lots of interesting talk going on about like comics. I mean, as well as the drinking and the drawing that happens, and lots of laughs. Seriously, folks, I would definitely enjoying it because there's lots of like process talk and people are there's some fascinating talk about pens.
Yeah, we had pen talk, didn't we, for about half an hour? That was good.
Yeah.
We're showing different nibs of pens.
Yeah,
pen
different
talk.
Japanese sort of inking pens.
Those the cream coloured pens.
Yeah.
I know the ones. Yeah, I've got them.
Zach Simmons, Hearn, Chris Imber, and Cliff Cumber all talking about the different pens, and they look fascinating. Yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff. It's not just like the nonsense.
A lot of talk about the anthology as well. There was little people were drawing the anthology as we were talking, which is quite nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So thank you again to everyone that was that joined us. It was a good laugh.
Did he talk about the subject you wanted to talk about, Vince? Did that come up at all?
What subject is that? I got many subjects.
About the magazines and news on the.
Oh no one mentioned this, and I think it's because you couldn't make it, Dan. But. Yeah, because you posted up something recently, and we've talked about comics, the importance of comics getting onto newsstands. Do you know what I mean? Like the W.H. Smiths or the Waitroses or things like that. Those sort of magazine shelves, because that's probably where a lot of kids, the parents are going to pick up a comic for their kids, and we complain about like most of it is all just tat now, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, if you can call it a comic, they're not comics. It's
just like a lightweight 15-page printed booklet with.
It's got like some puzzles in it, maybe a couple of pages of a comic strip, and
some plastic throwaway sort of
crap on the front that usually busts within the first half hour of being played with.
Well, you're a grown up, Dan. You shouldn't be playing with it. But however, you posted up something a couple of weeks ago saying that one of the stores over here in the UK are not going to be stocking this.
It's Waitrose.
Waitrose
not going to do it. No. Because of just on environmental concerns, just because of the plastic crap.
Comics for the people.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Waitrose
I don't know if that quite matches. But
Waitrose do stock the Phoenix.
Yeah, Waitrose stock the Phoenix. They're one
Middle
of the
class.
ones, they seem to be sort of. I mean, it's probably. I mean, I'd love to see places like WH Smith's doing things like this, but they're not. You know, I mean, how long are WH Smith's going to be around in this day and age at the moment? But,
can I ask a question? I keep hearing this about Waitrose stocking the Phoenix.
Yeah,
I've never seen it in Waitrose.
have you not?
Not all.
I've been in 5 or 6 Waitroses and looked for it. Never seen it.
Some
You,
do.
so you're middle class.
I am.
There was one I went into where I used to live, and they didn't. But I can remember being in one recently. I say recently, before the lockdown, and said, "Oh, we got the Phoenix." I went, "Yes, there." And
Right.
there it was.
Where was it? Because they have a little newspaper section and magazines and stuff, and I didn't see it then. I didn't see it by the tills.
They there was it was a Waitrose with like quite a decent magazine selection. It had like what was that comic one they did, and then they knocked it on the head. It had like Independence bit in it. I can't recall the fucking title, but it was next to that, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, it was like £5-10 for the fucking magazine. It was really,
and they
really
normally
expensive.
sometimes you have like some omnibus sort of Marvel reprint sort of stuff, don't they? Yeah, those sort of Marvel comics.
I mean, I live in a fairly middle class area, and where my office is very middle class, and there's not it's not in there, and that's quite a big Waitrose.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
we're getting in touch with the Phoenix, and
I know.
Ask them.
I mean, to be honest, if you want the Phoenix, you should subscribe to them anyway, because you
Get sent to
them.
your
I mean, I just looked out of curiosity for the pod. It's not my speed, but I was thinking, I'll have a look because I keep hearing about it. But no,
yeah.
Okay, but then again, you don't see 2000 AD in all the WH Smiths either.
Yeah. I mean, we want comics in as many hands as possible, don't it? It'd be nice to see more comics, but
like I said, I don't think just because they're going to get rid of those magazines with Tat on the cover that all the comics come flocking in.
Well, the problem is they're not comics either. Those things with
They're not.
They're just like stupid puzzle things and to shut your kid up, and that the plastic bit is part of it.
Best way to shut your kid up is a comic.
Honestly, those magazines, I bought it for my son many a time, and they shut him up for like 30 seconds to a minute. It really does not.
Yeah.
Just kind of glance through it, and sometimes I say, "Oh, look, do the crossword, do this," and then that'll keep him entertained for a bit, and then it's on to the next.
Were you giving him a copy of the Financial Times? Do the crossword.
Do the crossword.
Just give him a copy of the Spectator.
No tea till he finished crossword.
Yeah.
The dad absorbing. Do it.
Yeah.
It's been weeks.
You used to be able to be given a copy of The Sun and read George and Lynn, didn't you? But that's all stopped now. Political correctness gone crazy.
Hagar the Horrible. Is that still going?
I don't know, actually.
They do that Striker in 3D. It's always really
I hate that.
Abomination.
Oh.
That looks about 2 steps away from porn to me, that one. That Striker.
Yeah.
Terrible. But you know what is
But I mean,
terrible?
kids don't read comics. Do kids read comics very rarely? They might read picture books occasionally, but...
What are you talking about, Tony?
Demon Slayer book 2 and 3 today, and he can't wait to get stuck into them.
Yeah. Kids, we need to get more kids reading comics.
I know. We need to, but they're not, though, are they?
No.
Well, we can't necessarily. I mean, maybe they are. Well, they're not listening to this show.
They're reading manga.
Maybe reading some manga. Yeah.
True.
Sex people.
Sex people.
Speaking of sex people, let's talk about our sponsor, Comic House, because they're sexy people.
They are.
Yeah.
Are they sex people?
Not they're sexy people.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. The sex people, Lynn.
Anyway, Comic House are our sponsor. They're an indie comic marketplace that loves small press and indie comics from the UK and around the world, and we love them. If you go on comichouse.com, there's a huge selection of titles on their database. If you self-publish yourself, you can list your book on there, and it's another avenue to start selling your work straight away. They've got a feature section on their site, and always sort of refresh that. They've also got their own app, which is brilliant. It's basically like Netflix for comics, subscription service, only £3 a month, and you get access to an enormous library of digital indie comics. And £3 a month is less than your average bigger title now every week. But yeah, the library's been added to all the time. What's on there at the moment, Dan?
Well, there's a title was kind of when it first popped up on the app I talked about with Andy W. Clifton when he came in. It was Capable issue 1, and I just noticed issue 3's on there now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to dip into that, see how that's going on, because he really rated that title. We've got the Brand magazine, Live Your Brand. I've got a 5-page comic in there.
What have you got in there?
There's a comic called The Maze, in there.
Oh,
So check that one out.
yeah.
That was done a little while ago. We've got Spare Keys for Strange Doors issue 3, Spare Keys for Strange Doors issue 4, Zero Medal issue 1, Zero Medal issue 2, and new on the app, Snake Claws Volume 1 issue 6, Wrath of the
Oh,
Lizard
6 is up, is it? Oh, good.
Yeah, by Edison Neo. And,
That's the end of the first volume. He's talking about trading it now, isn't he? I see.
Ah, fantastic. Well worth checking that. That's all 6 issues are on Comic House.
Yeah, so go check them out because that's a brilliant series. And you can find out all that and more. There's a 14-day free trial to get stuck into the app. But if you want to find out about any of it and about our lovely sponsor that we talk about every week, and they put up with these terrible ads, then check out comichouse.com. There you go. There you go. Right, we've got a little as it's 301. Bloody hell, 301. God, is it just me that feels old?
No, man. It's over 300 odd ahead.
300 more to go.
300 more to go, indeed. I mean, we'll find things to talk about. Because most of the time I forget them every week, so I need to ask people how to make comics. But yes, this week we got a little interview for you here, and it's a little bit of a treat because it's sort of a flashback to a guest that we had near the beginning of the show. So without further ado, check this out. Okay, we've got a little bit of a treat this week because I don't know where the time has gone, but 300 episodes have passed since we've spoken to our guest this week. That it just seemed right to have there's a certain symmetry, isn't there, Dan, to this week's guest.
The balancing.
To kick off our next 300 episodes is our returning first ever guest and creator of Merrick, the Sensational Elephantman, Tom Ward. Hello, sir.
Hi, guys. I feel like I should do that awoo off the 300 or something. No.
I thought you were doing a Chris Akabusi.
I mean, that's an awooga.
Sorry.
Just as great.
Yeah. But even though, we've seen Tom at conventions, of course, and like we've chatted and stuff, but obviously the past couple of years have flown by. But it's been crazy. Last time we spoke, and we just talked about this just before we started recording, issue 4 of Merrick had just been released, or was just about to be released. And, we've talked about it many times on this show whenever we mention one of your Kickstarters or recommended the books that you've done. What you've done with the Merrick series is just awesome. Man, it's just
thanks.
It's just it's strength to strength, and also consistency, and a character that it's a truly independent character. There were some people who didn't listen all those years ago. For those who don't, let's have the quick setup before we get stuck into the meat of this roast. Well, actually, it's not a roast, but what is Merrick?
So it's like a fictional retelling of the story of Joseph Merrick, the Elephantman. So essentially the first kind of volume is fairly historically based. The people, places, years, the events are all kind of factual. Joseph Merrick was betrayed by his new manager who stole all his life savings and kind of abandoned him in Europe, and then he made his way back to London and met up with a doctor who he'd had previous dealings with, and kind of in real life he just kind of lived his days out in the hospital, and in the comic it turns into like a pulp revenge story. Since then it kind of that's kind of the premise and the setup, and then we've used that to kind of go a bit off the rails, and it becomes a bit more outlandish and a bit more kind of outrageous. But yeah, the core of it is kind of a historical pulp series with kind of superhero elements, I'd say.
Yeah, there's a definite pulp angle, isn't there, Dan, to it?
Yeah, definitely. They people make that comparison of the BPRD and all that stuff, which I don't. It's fair in some ways, but not in another. I don't think it does it justice. The series. The American Crowe, Sensational Dr. Crowe, are such a great crossover for either. If you're a reader of either character and you go into that, you can get the flavour of the other one. And after reading that one, I was like, oh, I want to find out more about the Dr. Crowe character.
Yeah, I think that was fun because that was like we kind of went into it with that as the goal. Do you know what I mean? It was like me and Corey had these similar books, and it was like he asked if we wanted to do a crossover series, and it was like, well, this is like a brilliant idea to have something separate from both the series that was kind of a taster of both. That at different levels you could take in and appreciate if you were a fan of one series or a fan of the other series, or even if it was just the first comic of either that you read. But the idea was to kind of use it as like a feeder. His fans would check out our book and our fans would check out his book, but while having it as, you know, an enjoyable comic in its own right.
Plus, I guess, also canon. The actual crossover is canon to what happens, is it?
It is in Merrick. I can't speak for Corey's Dr. Crowe, but I think it probably would be.
What are those? What's that like then? Because I think a lot of creators who have got characters, they've discussed with each other about like having crossovers or what if our characters meet or whatever. But it's a very different thing when you go ahead and do it. Plus, to make it part of your world and to make those elements, any moment has repercussions, doesn't it? So how did you go about figuring out like where it was in the timeline, where how it would influence things going forward? Was it just issue 4 has happened, then there's this crossover, and then there's issue 5? That kind of example. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it slots in between 6 and 7, so we were kind of like in a bit of a natural lull because we just finished the story arc, and Dr. Crowe had just finished its first kind of volume run. I don't think Corey had any other plans moving forward on that as of yet. So it was just a case of kind of we worked around the idea of like, everyone loves a good crossover issue. Like, I don't think they're probably quite as prevalent now as they were back in the day, but you had like Marvel team ups, like that was a whole series because I don't know, I was always just a fan of that kind of thing. And that's why we tried to play with all the kind of crossover tropes in the issue. There's certain things that's always got to happen, isn't it? The two characters have got to be doing their own thing, and then they've got to have like a misunderstanding.
They have a fight.
Move forward. And like, it does sound cheesy and kind of like doing it by almost like a plan. But I think that is kind of part of the fun of it, and playing with those kind of tropes. Interestingly, we each wrote kind of the setup stories ourselves for our own characters. And then after that, we took turns writing every other page.
Okay.
Different way of doing things. And then I would go through and write the kind of Merrick vocab. He would do the Dr. Crowe characters. And then, we'd go through some like editing process and kind of tighten things up, bounce some ideas backwards and forwards. But it was, a completely different way to do things. And to be honest, just like really fun to make. Rather than it being just like writing another comic, it was something completely. It was like a game, basically.
Nice. So one of the things I found when I was kind of like doing the early Vanguard stuff is I'd write someone else's character in, and then I realised I've got to be careful not giving them such a big part of the story, as in like this really affects the story going forward, because I might fall foul of that creator in the future, or he just might not stop making it, and then I'm making references to a character that's no longer around or stuff like that. So was you aware of that doing that one? Like you didn't want to kind of leak me?
We definitely kind of wanted to keep it balanced, because it's not a Merrick comic, it's not a Dr. Crowe comic. It is, outside, like it's not outside of current continuity, but title wise it is its own title.
Yeah.
So we did, have all the pages in a spreadsheet and kind of try to count how many pages, Merrick was, kind of featuring prominently on, how many pages Dr. Crowe was featuring prominently on. All the characters' input had to be as important as the others, just so it was nice balance, basically. Because, like you say, you don't want to just kind of steamroll one or steamroll the other. You want it to have a nice kind of fresh feel to it. And for example, in the Merrick series, we don't use like kind of captions where it's kind of like an internal monologue or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we do on this, which was quite fun. Or just different to what our normal series would be. So if you were just reading it in the context of reading through Merrick, you'd be like, oh, caption boxes have turned it up out of the blue, and then they kind of go away again. So it is definitely its own thing.
I reckon if you're sort of a comic reader, you just kind of flow into that and just, this is what this is. And then, because I read Merrick and I didn't even really clock that. that the capture bosses come in. But,
I really like it.
there.
We got the little crow on the
Oh yeah,
Merrick boxes and a little elephant on the Merrick ones. I really like little touches like that.
that's a nice little touch.
But Crowe has also made it, and it's quite a nice segue actually, to the cover of Volume 2 of the collection. And as we speak, this very day, I had an email saying that the campaign was successful, and you've taken my money from me.
Sorry.
No, but do you know what?
That's the way it works.
Yeah, that's the way it works. And also, when you pledge to a campaign, make sure you pledge to one that's going to give you exactly what you want. And Tom, you are a bit of a, you know what you're doing with Kickstarter now, don't you?
It feels like it. You know what? This was our 8th Merrick one, I think.
8th?
Yeah. So we've been around. We've kind of done a few. We're not really reinventing the wheel, so to speak, with anything. We're not kind of throwing like crazy new rewards or anything. We're literally just kind of paring it down, keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Make a comic, print the comic, and get it out. This is kind of a new one for us that the content was already finished, so that is really easy. We've had everything ready since halfway through the campaign. Luke's put the print files together in the digital files. They've gone off to the printer already. So it really should be a case of kind of more like, traditional kind of ordering a series of comics down your comic shop, where you put the order in the month before, and the next month it comes in. So it should be a really fast, simple one, which is good.
Is it going to smell as good as your usual books?
I hope so.
I've spoken many times about the sensational smell of the Merrick books, which makes me sound like a right weirdo. But Tom you've spoken to many people about this, haven't you? Like, the print quality you get's really good.
Get mentioned, yeah. And it's probably quite different when you've got like 1,000 copies sat next to you. It can get a bit overwhelming, to be honest. I often think that, like, when I'm in my little office and I've got the kind of stacks and stacks of books fresh from the printer, that like it gets kind of weird for a couple of days.
So basically, the marijuana that was ground up and put into the ink may have been a bit overkill. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we've got some. If you've got enough copies, there are mild psychedelic properties.
Jesus,
it's funny that we mentioned that. You mentioned it online. That there's a creators group in Facebook, and someone asked a question about Kickstarters, and you gave your opinion, and people kind of like were dismissive of it. And it's like, well, fucking Tom's been there and done this.
What was this?
Like
what was this?
In a creators group on fucking Facebook, where everyone's an expert.
Facebook. That already tells me how you feel about this, Dan.
Well, yeah, it's painful, innit? Like, generally, like, I mean, it's nice. We've all kind of been doing this for a while now. Like, I've been doing this since 2014. I think you guys have been doing it a little bit longer. And you start off enthusiastic, and you like comics and stuff.
Yeah. And
then you kind of just think, I'm just gonna keep my head down, just keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah. Every now and now and again, you'll see something, and you'll think, you know what? I'll help someone out. I'll give them a bit of advice. So someone will be like, oh, want to do my first Kickstarter, never done a comic before, never done a Kickstarter before. And you go, okay, I've done a few, doing it for a few years. Here's some things I've learned along the way. And then you'll take your time out and do it, and then someone will just reply and say, no, you're wrong. And it's like, okay, cool. See you later. Okay. Enjoy not making a comic or running a Kickstarter, whatever.
Here's the old no good deed goes unpunished.
Lesson learned. Don't ever
fucking bother.
Facebook group.
Yeah.
I do the same, and then I forget about that incident, and then do it again, and then get the same fucking thing happen.
You get it at cons as well, though, don't you? Yeah. Someone will come up to you and be like, oh, I really want to do this. How do you go about doing it? And you're like, well, here's how I did it. And they go, nah, I don't think that's right. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the thing is...
Spend 10 minutes explaining, and they say, it's not for me, that. So, thanks.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way, as long as you're making comics. Do you know what I mean? I mean, people can say something when they've made stuff. There's a lot of people that talk a good game, but They haven't printed anything. They haven't been through the Kickstarter campaign. They haven't done a Patreon. They haven't done all of these kind of things. But it's the backseat driver mentality of like social media and things, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just makes.
Well, it's like that.
Yeah.
I pointed that one, like there's another Facebook creators group for comics, and they were saying how their comic got all these reviews on IGN and this, and they were outselling everything. And I was like, I've never fucking heard of this, and I'm not saying I'm like know everything that's going on in the small comics world, but like if this was such a smash as you're saying, why have I not heard of it? And so I said, oh, where's the review for this? And he went, oh, let me DM you. And I got the message from him, and he said, oh, it was on there, but they pulled the review like in January. And I was like, yeah, all right. And then I went on their site, and all their comics are sold out, and like you can't get them. And I was like, okay, like
there's an element of like fake it till you make it, isn't there? And there's some people who have like that big salesman vibe, and it's just wild because we live in an internet age right now, and it's like, okay, cool, let me just put that into Google. Yeah, you're not telling the truth.
Not telling the truth.
Yeah. But if you get onto like the right site, or sometimes you schmooze the right people to get a headline on a website, it can make things, because sometimes it's like any sort of online journalism or whatever. Sometimes people will see a headline and think that's what it is.
But you've done like your time in the trenches, Tom, of building up your readership and fans of the title, and it goes a long way, doesn't it? You can't just suddenly, oh, here's a comic, everyone fucking back it, and away we go. You kind of need a bit. It's got to be baby steps at the start to kind of get where you are today.
I think that's what puts loads of people off. I think because people like, I want to do the first issue of this comic. I know they expect it to kind of go through the roof and be a smash hit and an overnight success, and straight away can pay page rates for everyone at Marvel rates and stuff, and it's just not the kind of reality of it. And when you say, oh, you might need to put some of your own money forward and build up, and then once you kind of get a few issues, you can do your trade paperback, and then once you've done the trade paperback, you can kind of make a lot more money on that because your printing kind of evens out a bit more, and people don't want to hear it. No. But like, ours, until we did our first paperback, like you couldn't break even at a convention. You couldn't pay table costs, cover like travel or hotel or something like that. So like the fact that we've got so many issues now really means that every Kickstarter, like we're not just selling volume 2 on this new one, we're selling volume 1 as well. So we're moving like a lot of back stock, so you've got more behind you. So although we didn't break even earlier on, like we've started to kind of break even on the later issues because more people have checked it out, more people have told their friends, bit like word of mouth. And I think as well, just the longer a series is, like people kind of take it more seriously. Like it's really hard to make like an issue of a comic, but like once you start making like a whole bunch, people must be like, there's more to this. It's not just kind of a flash in a pan, like one thing. I'm going to get to the end of the story. I think a lot of people worried that they just have one issue, a cliffhanger, and never find out what happens. And I think that's a turn off for quite a few people.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, what you've done with this series is as far as I'm concerned, a massive achievement in the small press and in indie sort of world. To just keep ploughing on, and obviously we're here about learning as well. So we're going to mine you for information. And don't worry, we won't tell you that you're wrong.
I mean, the thing is, I always kind of phrase things. I don't phrase it as this is the way to do it. I'll phrase it as in this is the way I've done it, and I think this works, and this is what I did the first time that I didn't think was good, and why I didn't think it was good, and how I think I've improved it. So it is all. I always do speak. I try to speak anyway from my own kind of personal experience and my own personal thoughts. I'm sure there's probably better ways, or certainly different ways to do it.
I mean, everyone's got their own way of working, haven't they?
Exactly. And I mean, this is just what works for us.
Yeah. So rather than the Kickstarter, let's push the Kickstarter, because obviously you're just making bank and you're paying for your yacht and everything with that. So you're a golden Kickstarter boy. But in terms of the actual series itself and creating a book like this, I think there's a lot that people can learn from you in terms of like what it takes to do a series like this, because everyone wants to create a character that will have a few issues and a few different story arcs, or there's always the pie in the sky. Oh, I'm going to create a character that's going to have like a 12-issue series, and in your head you're thinking, steady on. Let's just get 4 out of the way first. And certainly, I think with Merrick, am I right in thinking that like there's a 4-issue arc, and then you've got shorter arcs afterwards? Was that a learning that you took from the first 4 issues? Because that must have been a massive curve doing the first big arc.
Yeah, so the first arc was 4, yeah, and then we did 2 story arcs of 2. The lesson I learned essentially was comics is expensive, essentially, and so I kind of started trying to focus on fitting more in. There's absolutely a lot more on the page on the later issues than there is in the first 4. Like we're talking more content, more plot. We'll move things faster. More things will be said. It probably gets to the point where we're really kind of, getting onto the knuckle of too much, maybe. But that's probably like the next lesson that we'll need to learn. Issues 5 and 6 were both oversized, and the feeling on that was it could have been a 3-issue arc, but I think there would have been filler pages,
right?
And that's just paying page rates on filler seems like a mistake. Sending it to print twice with larger page counts is going to be cheaper than sending it to print 3 times with lower page counts. So it was kind of like an economy of work and an economy of kind of cost on what it costs to make it.
I think that's very important what you're saying there in terms of economy. Like when you talk about filler pages, I think this is something that a lot of certainly some creators or writers certainly who are hiring artists to do things have to think about this. If you're paying people, every page has to. You need to get the bang for your buck because you are paying.
Yeah.
You don't want to have that. Oh, here's a page where someone is just looking mournfully into the distance. Doesn't really do anything for the story, but it's going to look nice. Then you got to think, should it be there? Because it's good. I mean, if you've got the money to do it, then do it. But you do have to be economical with how to plot things out as well as the story
Same
itself.
way when you're putting the book together, like you don't want to end up with 3 pages that you've just got to kind of fill because you got to do the multiples of 4. That can be like, oh, fuck's sake. I know it doesn't usually push it up a lot price-wise, but it's just something you got to be aware of, and you don't want to chuck in a load of garbage just to get over the count.
Yeah. I think there's always a lot from kind of like more mainstream books, like your Marvel and your DC stuff, are kind of writing towards like 5-6 issue arcs.
Yeah.
And that's someone they're busting it out every month. Like we don't really have the kind of time constraints. I'm not in a panic to finish it on a deadline, and also I can do what I want. Like it's easy to stretch something out for 6 issues if someone's paying the bills. Like if I'm paying the bills, it's like why would I want like 20, 30, 40 pages of filler that's not doing anything when I could do a 2-issue arc, and really compress it right back down. But yeah, I think that's the kind of important things. And I also kind of feel like, because I'm not constrained by having to do 22-page issues, like standard stuff is kind of all, it's all kind of standardized. Like I'm operating more on a kind of way the Netflix do the TV shows, not having standardized episode lengths. So I'm really just working to how long I think the story needs. So a big
is that
thing
based on the arc though? For instance, like the 4 issues at the beginning all had the same length of issue, but then if you had like 5 and 6, they have same sort of lengths, although longer. Do you know what I mean? Do you keep it consistent, or does it just change from issue to issue?
It changes for every issue. Like the next arc after that, I think issue 7's 20 pages, and issue 8's like 32 or something. Because what I kind of focused on even from the start was I think of each issue as a separate arc in itself, with a beginning and an end, because I am a huge fan of the opening page and the cliffhanger page. I think they're parts. Like, I really like the serialized nature of comics, so they're really important to me. So when you've got kind of issues 5 and 6 of Merrick, each one has to have its own beginning, middle, and end. And then obviously the cliffhanger on 5 is Merrick wakes up and then he's not the Elephantman anymore. So that's the obvious beginning for the next issue. So you kind of end on that page and then start on that kind of idea for the next one. Then that's result in the second issue. That's very clearly like a 2-parter, like a 3-parter. Yeah. Like it would be a jumble, wouldn't it? It'd be like half the Elephantman and then half not the Elephantman, and then half not the Elephantman, half the Elephantman. That's probably just come across as absolute nonsense. But
no, I understand.
But and then the next arc, when Man Elephant's revealed, that's the obvious cliffhanger, and then the obvious opener, because you want that on the cover. You want that to be the cool first page. So I just work around that essentially, and then however many pages it has to be, it can be that.
Yeah, so I kind of work on that principle of like you got the beginning of the story, the end, and then you can chop it up into bits. Say, right, this bit is going to be the end of issue 1 going into 2. Yeah. That's the plot. That's the cliffhanger, and work it out like that.
Yeah, I plot everything separately. So there's the main over arc, and then there's each story arc within that, and then each issue is its own arc, and then you can get really into it and start considering like scenes having I'll consider scenes having beginning, middles, and ends, or pages having beginning, middles, and ends. I want everything to lead you through to wanting to turn the page or wanting to see the next thing.
Yeah.
Rather than having that kind of dead space, and that's going back to talking about filler. If like a panel isn't serving a purpose or a page isn't serving a purpose, I'll just kill it.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of a skill that it comes with kind of experience, the constant refinement of what you're doing. If you can sort of get all you want to say into the 21 pages as opposed to taking 30, that's the skill you want. There's a lot of comics I read when I feel like all this can be cut down. It doesn't need this page or this panel. Cut it down and get it faster and sharper and like gets to where it wants to be.
Because everything needs to be printed in 4 pages as well. Like if you add 1 page, you can't just add 1 page. You've got to add 4 pages. So if you need to add that 1 page, but then you've got nothing to say for the next 3, then sorry, you've got to kill one of your other pages to make the 1 page fit, or come up with something to kind of make the extra 3 pages worth it. It really is just being really brutal about what makes it in.
I think it can sometimes be, so how many times have we read an issue 1 of something, and by the end of the issue, just think, well, that was a pretty looking book, but what happened? And it feels like something's about to happen, but I've just wasted 20 pages of.
I think a lot of first issues you'll read, and the hook that comes in at the end of the first issue, it's like, okay, cool, that should have been in the first 8 pages, that should have been in the first 6 pages. If you've only got like 1 beat in your first issue, like you've just wasted so many pages. You want to have at least, a handful of hooks, a handful of kind of beats, so people feel like they've got some content. That's kind of what we're working on.
You understand the premise. I mean, like with Merrick, the first issue is free for download on the website. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Kind of, more people don't do that, especially big publishers. Why wouldn't you want to get people to check it out? Because ultimately, you're not trying to sell like 1 issue, are you? You're trying to sell a series.
Yeah. I think that's why Image do their trades, like the first trade's relatively cheap. So
absolutely,
you get people hooked in, and then
like TKO do it, don't they? They're like, there's a 4-issue series you can buy now, but here's the first issue. See if you like it. If you do, they're all available now. It's that kind of thing. I think it's a good way to go. If you can do it, of course. Yeah,
because there's times when I've like been interested in getting a comic and read the first issue and think, this ain't for me. Yeah, it's not rubbish. It's just not for me. Yeah, and if you can kind of get that out of the way by reading 4 titles and think, I love these 2, and they've kind of got you as a reader, as it were.
Yeah. What are some of the storytelling lessons you've learned from issue 1 to where you are now, Tom?
Cool. Storytelling lessons. Kind of what we've been doing is we kind of jump around genres a lot. I think the advantage of being such an kind of ongoing kind of book the way we are is that we've set up kind of the premise, we set up the characters and the scenario, and then we kind of using that to make the different kinds of books that we want to do. So, you know, we've got like the ghost stories and kind of the horror elements. Then we've got like some big monsters. Like the first volume is just more like a straight up kind of pulp revenge kind of story. So we kind of, I don't know what the lessons are. Other than compression, I've just learned to compress things down. I think we have some kind of heavy emotional beats as well. When people kind of talk about, you know, the BPRD Hellboy kind of comparisons, I think our series is a lot more character based. Like, it's a lot more depressing. We always kind of have that kind of heavy, kind of sad feeling. You know, in Hellboy, for example, like the world doesn't really affect Hellboy. Like, Hellboy's a great book, but he's a character. No one seems to be bothered that he looks like the way he does. He just goes on adventures, and it's just like loads of fun. Whereas ours, like Merrick's just like, my life's shit, I hate it, and I'm going on some adventures. Let's get back to being miserable by the end of the book. Different vibe.
So, I mean, with that in mind, I mean, you've got to tap into quite a vein of misery for someone like Merrick. I mean, it's a tragic character anyway. You know, he was a tragic person in real life anyway, isn't it? So, you know, I mean, you've obviously hyper realised his life, but I mean, have you found yourself, because you must have done, you know, you've done so much research on Joseph Merrick before the series even began. Did you find yourself like emotionally affected by, because it's such a tragic, I mean, such a tragic story of that person in real life, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the kind of real story is just, it's so sad and so depressing, that it's kind of nice to you know, kind of put a twist on it. And I think people have commented that they do find it quite uplifting and like transformational in that way. But obviously, like, it's important to, although it is like a, you know, a crazy kind of almost comic book superhero kind of comic, it's important to kind of keep it respectful, isn't it? Yeah. Real guy. Like, sometimes I do think, like, is this exploitative or whatever? Like, is it a bit? But I think we've handled it well. I think, like, who wouldn't want a cool comic book about them?
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
I know, like, you know, in real life, he liked to, you know, dress up in a suit, and he got, like, you know, shaving kits and gentleman's kind of accessories, and he liked, you know, reading books and pretending and stuff like that. So I kind of hope he'd dig it, really.
Yeah, and there is that that sense of giving this tragic character just a bit more power as well, you know, because he was obviously fairly powerless in it.
Well, yeah, everyone was awful to him, essentially, except for his original manager, Tom Norman, who, quite ironically, was painted in like a really bad light in, you know, the books and the David Lynch film. So, yeah, it's nice to kind of have people thinking more positively, possibly.
Don't they, to bring it down to our level, don't they mention one of the only areas unaffected by was his penis?
That's what they say.
Yeah.
We've not gone into that.
No.
That's going to be the next volume.
Yeah. The adult pin-up.
Yeah.
All the popular Kickstarters seem to do.
The popular Kickstarters with the sexy, not safe for work covers.
Oh, you hit the you hit the titty comics on Kickstarter, and you're just on the big time straight away, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I constant in a sort of turmoil of like, do I dislike these or I just laugh with it? I don't know. It kind of, because this go past endless streams, all these like nudie pictures that they've got the artist to draw, and you think, okay.
But then you look at the numbers and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And sometimes I catch like a Kickstarter and like, you know, it seems fine and it looks cool, and you think, oh, this looks all right. Then as you scroll down, then you see the you know, the blacked out covers, you know, where you've got the strip, and you think, oh, you're one of those. Oh, with, I see.
32 different variants.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Well, they had like absolutely amazing story. It's just brilliant. But you just swap all the characters out for like big-breasted women just so you can do all these pin-ups, and then you know what I mean? Like,
I mean that's where we're
just to
going
get the
wrong.
money
That's
in.
where everyone's going
Yeah.
wrong.
It's just like a completely different world, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like it's interesting scrolling through and kind of just looking from the outside in and being like, there's guys who are just like, this is their thing, titty comics. They just
Yeah.
love getting 32 variants of
Yeah.
this girl with her tits out or in a bikini or something drawn on a cover, and you're just like, wow, they've made $100,000 and this is my life.
I kind of always think, am I mercenary enough to do this, like to turn into it and do that? And
You
part
never
of me
will,
says,
Dan. You never will.
Yeah, part of me says, yeah, you fucking will. That's great. And then whenever I get down to the nitty gritty of actually thinking about doing that, I'm like, nah, I can't really do
sell
it.
my soul to the devil like that.
Maybe they're great. Maybe the stories are just absolutely banging.
Yeah. Yeah, they could be. Yeah, we should never judge a book by its cover, by its variant, by its 32 variant covers.
To be fair, I have judged a lot of comic books on their covers and
totally.
interiors, and then read them and thought, fucking hell.
Yeah. We do. The amount of times that I've looked at a cover on Comixology, thought that's fucking great. Looked at the thumbnails, no, I can't.
But like, yeah, I've seen like when a Kickstarter's done really well, and then like I've read it and thought that was fucking pap, and then like the second one's done even bigger numbers.
Yeah,
I was like, did they not all read the fucking first book? Because there's nothing to this.
Yeah, I know.
I come for the great art. I'll stay for the great writing.
Yeah. Which retail cover have you got, Dan? Anyway,
all.
But however, no one's going to have that problem of looking at a cover and then looking inside with Merrick and thinking, oh no, this was completely different. Because we talk about the consistency in the story and stuff. What blackmail documents do you have to keep Luke Parker absolutely smashing this book out? You know.
Oh, mate, it's just quality scripts, isn't it? Just no good.
That's the answer we want, man.
No, I think Luke's like a genuine kind of fan of the series as well. Like, I think we're both, really invested in just making a good comic.
You're co-creators. No.
Well, of course, yeah. Like, I came to him with the kind of original scripts for the first 4 issues, but very much the kind of aesthetics and the designs, all him.
Yeah.
I don't think it would read the same with different artists. It's great watching him progress from issue to issue. I thought he was great with straight from the start, but it's undeniable that he's got better. Yeah. And I think only that's what artists need, isn't it? A chance to do the same characters over and over again, and do a long running book and be drawing the same kind of things, and that's how they're gonna get their own voice and just develop as artists. So yeah, it is really good. Like, he complains about his old art all the time. He's like, I can't even look at it. Like, he was just saying to me the other day, I think there's a couple of good pages in that issue, and I'm just like, are you crazy, man? That whole issue is amazing. I just spent like 6 hours straight looking at it, trying to make sure everything's perfect and we haven't messed up the print files. Like, this is a great looking book. Like, what are you saying?
Is it all like original inks with Luke's work? Is it? Or does
so he's changed his kind of process, I believe, from the start. Like, he did kind of just do classic pencil on Bristol board and then ink it and scan it. And then I think he moved on to blue pencil lines and traditional inks, and then scanning it in. But now he's I think he's doing the layouts first on his computer, I think, and then he's printing the layouts directly onto the board, and then he's kind of just building it up from there.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I think he's constantly kind of learning as well, and trying to push himself basically. I think it definitely shows.
I mean, we're having that sort of the signature style, because I think anyone who knows Merrick or has bought the series, immediately we can see the visual style in our head. We know what the flavour of this book is. We know the voice that it has. But having that consistency as well, that must, I would say, take the pressure off you in terms of
messing. It's the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. Like how long can you be on a good run before? Isn't it? It's like you're rolling 5s and 6s for 13 times on the trot. Like any minute you're going to roll a 1, aren't you? Like, oh, I can't deal with it.
But does it free you up to, like, knowing that Luke, you know, you've got such confidence in what he can do, that the ideas you have for upcoming arcs, or you just now you think, oh, I'd love to see him draw this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've just finished the next arc scripts, so that's a 4-parter.
Oh wow! So you're going back to a sort of slightly longer.
It's going to be longer, and to be honest with you, I think frankly it's quite insane, and like I am worried that I've lost my mind. Like I sent it over to Luke, and I was like, I've done this. Does it make any sense? Or is it just like the ravings of a madman? So it's quite wild.
Has he replied yet?
He thinks it's good. But like, it's hard to know, isn't it? Like that's the big thing. Even whenever you make anything, like I'm super hypercritical about everything. I'm sure anyone who's read my Twitter or anything like that is probably aware of that. But I apply that kind of hypercriticalness to my own stuff. And I think that is, you know, why we've made quite a good book, because I will just keep working on it until I think it isn't shit. Yeah. And, you know, you're still kind of putting yourself out there on the chopping block, aren't you? Like you could be convinced that it's great. You could be convinced about anything, but then, you know, other people don't see the world the same as you do. So anything can happen in between it being finished and other people kind of consuming it. But ultimately we're kind of like, I just do it for myself. It just means if no one likes it, we won't be able to kind of fund anymore. So it's kind of like, it's always a weird one when you finish something. Even the paperback now, getting it to new readers, it's just like, oh, new people are reading this. What are they going to think? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, they'll love it, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's a good comic, but you know, still you're in that transitionary period in between someone kind of picking something up and reading it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
there was that thing earlier in the week about people talking about not saying bad things about creators' work, and it's like, well, if you're putting stuff out there, people can slag off my book if they don't like it. What the effect it has on you is determined by yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like if you don't want to hear what people think about something, don't go looking for it. Like,
yeah,
don't be on Twitter being like, don't say mean things about my stuff. I only want people to say great things about my stuff, and tag me in it when you say great things about my stuff. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
fine.
Not worth worrying about, is it?
Yeah,
like,
that's the way you want to live your life.
All you have to do is just be kind of confident in that you've done your best and you're happy with it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm trying to do.
And I think what sort of undoes all of that, you know, the online waffle and the nonsense and the hot air, is those moments at, and God, how we miss them, the convention circuit. When you have people coming back up to your table to get the other issues, or like, you know, people will genuinely, sometimes if it's a 2-day convention, they'll pick up the first book, they'll go away, and then they'll pop back the next day and go, oh, I have to get the rest of this because I read it last night and really loved it. I mean, you must have had some great moments like that, Tom.
I think like when you say that, one just comes straight to mind to me. I did a convention, and it was like towards the end, and this kid, he must have been like, I don't know, early teenager, whatever. He came over and he's looking through it, and he's proper looking through the books, and you know, proper kind of trying to take it in, and you can see like the cogs in his brain working. And like, I don't rush him or give him the hard sell. He's just there looking through it. And then, like, he just looks straight at you and he goes, "Is this any good?" And you just like, "Is this any good?" It's like, well, you put me in a hard position here because I made it and I think it's good. But if I tell you that it's good and then you get it and you go away and you're disappointed, like what am I going to feel? I made it, I'm selling it. Like, it's going to be very difficult for me to say it's not good. So I was like, I think it's pretty good. And he's like, okay. And he goes away. And he comes back and he gets it. And he's like, we're going to take a chance. And I was like, okay, cool, thank you. And he buys the first paperback. and he goes off. And then I did another event a few months later. And this same kid came back, and he comes over to the table, and I was like, "You were that kid who asked me if it was any good, weren't you?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, what did you think? Was it any good?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was really good. Like, I want to buy the rest."
Oh,
like, that's good.
That's brilliant.
That was cool. But yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? Like, is this any good? What do you say?
Yeah. What do you say?
It's best comic ever.
A lot of people would be just, it's fucking brilliant. Buy it.
Yeah.
I think I probably said you can download the first issue for free. Just go home, download it, see what you think.
Yeah, but gotta love that kid because he took a punt on it, which is what we love.
Came back.
Just that sort of like, maybe it was the drugs that you put in the paper. Maybe that wafted as he was looking through. He's like, "There's something about this. I just need more."
No, but I think it's like what you were saying earlier. It's like it is quite kind of crazy to think that the series does genuinely have fans, and like that's amazing. Yeah. Like when people come up to us at conventions, they said, "Oh, I've been thinking about doing like a cosplay or something," or just they'll talk about like kind of odd details in the book that you don't think people will pick up on. Something is, it's great that people want to read it and reread it, and it's not just kind of something that they kind of pick up and forget about.
Yeah, the thought of that, though, isn't it? I mean, if Joseph Merrick himself could see, like cosplaying as him in a positive light, because that's what it is, because Merrick's he's a hero, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? In this series, he's, I know he's a tragic hero, but it says a lot about the character and like the world that you created, that people actively think about. I want to dress up like this. Yeah,
that's got to be like a real highlight, hasn't it? Like, if he was looking at that, it beats Michael Jackson trying to buy your skeleton, doesn't it?
Oh God, where is that skeleton now?
It was in the back of the Royal London Hospital. There's like there's a reproduction in like a little museum exhibit that you can go into in there. I think the real one's down there, but yeah, Michael Jackson did try to buy it, which is weird.
Yeah.
Is that
weird? It's not just buried, to be honest, but whatever.
Is that the skeleton that's that's dancing in that video?
What video?
Oh, Leave Me Alone. Don't just leave me alone or whatever. You know that weird one. I mean, a weird Michael Jackson video narrows it down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
That's when he's going around the roller coaster with the dogs.
The roller coaster, yeah. When it's got bubbles.
Fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's a weird video. I'll send you a link for it, Tom. It's sort of you'll watch it and feel uncomfortable, like we all do when it comes to
like most Michael Jackson videos.
Michael Jackson.
My brother when that went out. My brother was like young. He wanted to go see that for his birthday, so I took my dad along, and his mates and me and one of my mates. I wish I could go back in time and look at my dad's face for the entirety of Moonwalker. Just the expressions he must have been pulling.
God. Moonwalker, my God. Oh. That had a video game though.
It did.
Yeah.
In terms of like, come on. Who has approached you about? Have you been approached by any publishers or anyone? Sort of saying, "Oh, we can create merch for this," or doing action figures. Come on, we want an action figure of Merrick.
I know Luke is really kind of hot on wanting an action figure, but I don't even really know where to start. Like, it's something we've thought about, but I don't know, maybe when we've got a few more books behind us, it's something we could think about.
Yeah.
A couple of publishers have kind of shown interest, but don't know whether it's really worth it. Like, while you can do it yourself, I would recommend doing things yourself, like straight away, not going through the direct market. Like, it becomes a viable thing where you get the entire kind of, cover price. Like, once you kind of, with a publisher going through Diamond, you're instantly slashing like 50, 55, 60% straight off that. And then you're paying for the printing costs if you're, if you're making £4 on a book and then £2 that goes to printing, and you're getting £2 for every book that sells. Like, you may as well just be doing it yourself and getting 10, 15 for the book. I think people like the kudos, don't they, of saying, putting it on their Twitter bio or whatever, published by this, published by that. But I don't think it's kind of the best move for a lot of people. Certainly not initially, until you kind of break through a certain level where you can't kind of deal with things yourself. it's almost better keeping it in house. Like,
and also with the publishers, sometimes people are signed up by publishers, but the publisher won't necessarily support the book like you thought they were going to.
Yeah, we've had stories of that. People
I think with a lot of publishers, you're basically just getting access to the direct market through them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to, you could still do that yourself.
Yeah. You've still got to be the loudest cheerleader for whatever you create in comics.
Well, yeah. And I think with our book and kind of the people who read it, I think the quality of our, the print quality of stuff is kind of something that we really hold to like a high standard. And I'm sure like your average publisher probably wouldn't be behind that. Like you're spending how much on printing? Why are you buying this expensive paper? I don't think it would fly. I'd much rather be kind of a smaller boutique operation.
Yeah.
Kind of building like our own little kind of world, basically. While we've got Kickstarters going, like that's covering things like the online store, especially over lockdown, has been doing great.
Really?
We've had the best year ever on our online store.
I don't know
that could be because we've got more books. Do you know what I mean? The more we put out, the more there is for people to buy, the more chance there is people are seeing things.
Is this print or is it digital? What have you seen do better over this?
So our store is physical only because we do the digital through Comixology just for ease.
Yeah.
We've probably done like an extra 50% in our online store. But it's still not. It's not Lambo money, but we're just kind of paying for stuff, kind of working through.
Yeah.
I'm hoping when this Kickstarter's finished, because we've been working on like a little bit of a deficit, and I'm hoping the money left over from this Kickstarter will go a long way to kind of balancing the books, as it were. And obviously the paperback sold great. We're hoping the second paperback will sell great as well. It certainly seems like an easier sell at conventions and online, so I'm hoping that'll kind of just drip and drop out from the online store. And we'll kind of start moving forward then and start building up some funds as we do these new issues, basically.
Because as you get more content, that's just for new readers, that's just more for them to get stuck into straight away. You'll have the people that bought their first trade paperback when it first went on Kickstarter, and you'll have the other people that like me. I've read them all, but I used this Kickstarter to get my hands on the two trade paperbacks. And there are other people who do not know what this is, and now there's an abundance of stuff that they can pick up. They can do, and also later on down the line, you've got the option, because you've got more stock and things like that. You've got the option of doing, I guess like deals or like packages, or you have more options open to you at your convention table, don't you? When you have more stuff to offer. Yeah,
I kind of work on the kind of basis of trying to keep things as cheap as possible. You talked about the Image first volumes before. They come through as like what, £8 or £10. Our first trade is a tenner. The second one's a little bit more, but it's got 50 more pages. Because I don't want to have like piles and piles of books that I'm trying to sell for like £30 each. That someone buys one in a blue moon. I want them to go out as fast as possible. I want to have as few kind of barriers to entry as possible for people to read it. That's why I keep the digital files, like on the Kickstarter especially, they're like £1 each for a digital comic, which it's nice that people kind of support that level as well, because you are just getting the digital link and the digital files. But we're up to like nearly 400 pages of comics, so for £15 you're going to be entertained for quite a while. But yeah, I think it's important to get as many people able to read your book as possible, rather than focusing on a small niche market of people who are willing to pay a premium. Like when you see some crowdfunders, and it's what, £20 for a single issue. Like, just because people will pay it just seems crazy to me. You're not going to sell 10 issues at £20. No one's going to pay £200 for 10 single issues. I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm just completely disconnected from reality. But I certainly know I wouldn't. And I don't want us to be like a special case. I'd rather be priced the same as an Image book or priced the same as a Dark Horse book, because I don't think there is a difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, makes so sense. I think a lot of people as well, when they it's gonna say negative, but I'm gonna explain it. Some people overvalue their books. Now, we all know how much work goes into a comic. There's so much hard work, and obviously people want to receive something for their time and money. But also, sometimes you need to separate that from the product itself. At the end of the day, it's a product. And we've all looked at books and just been like, sorry, you've priced me out. As nice as it looks, I can't.
Absolutely.
I can't spend the money on that.
Yeah, will people buy that when there's like the next table over has got the same book but for £4 less?
Yeah, but sometimes there may be some sort of subliminal. If you give it to them cheaper, and there may be a subliminal. Oh, I really enjoyed this. In the long run, they might spend more money with you than they would if they had just bought one issue for a stupid price.
Yeah,
absolutely. I want people to be buying the bundles of £10. I want people to, be in from the start and carry on the kind of the whole journey of the series with us. I don't want people to think, this was expensive. I want them to think this is like kind of reasonable. It happens every now and again. Yeah, let's kind of get involved and keep up with it. Because what's the point in spending all that time and effort if no one reads it?
Exactly. But lots of people are going to be reading your books, Tom. I mean, obviously, Kickstarter was a success, but we heard it here. There's more on the way for this character. Have you been tempted to do much away from Merrick? What have you done away from this character in terms of writing and stuff? Or has it just been solely just this one character? You've lived your life with him for years.
Well, I've done a few kind of shorts for a couple of anthologies and stuff. I actually got approached by a publisher earlier this year to pitch to them for the first time. So I threw a little pitch, and they were like, "Yeah, great, let's do that." So I was like, "Wow, okay, one pitch, one acceptance, pretty good ratio. Let's keep it at that."
Nice.
I worked with. I don't really know how much I can talk about it because, well, we'll get to that. So we got quite a tight deadline. So did quite a lot of work really fast. Everyone on the team kind of busted their ass.
Yeah.
We made kind of the first installment of this thing. We had some back and forward with the publisher. And then we got a message, stop everything. We've run out of money. The publisher's going under. And it was like, okay, cool. Would have been sweet. Would have been sweet if you told me this like a week and a half ago before I commissioned the soundtrack, but here we are. So apparently they're paying all their responsibilities, but the check is in the mail. So we will have to see whether that materializes or not. But as it was, doing things yourself at your own speed, the way you want to do them, seems better. Maybe I'm wrong. But that wasn't the best experience.
That's interesting. So you found that you prefer that sort of the rhythm and way of working when you've got, I guess, the control is taken out of your hands.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, I just like doing what I want to do when I want to do it, and this lets me do that. I'm working on some scripts with Johnny Cannon from the
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, we love Johnny.
Transylvania Nights and The United.
Yeah. So that's kind of half written. I'm going to finish that. I think that's going to be kind of like a graphic novel release.
Is that something that Johnny is going to draw himself, or is it?
He's going to draw it. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Brilliant. Look forward to that.
Yeah, he approached me and he was like, "Oh, should we do something?" And I kind of bounced a couple of ideas that I kind of had around in my head, and he really picked up on one of them, and sounded really good. Quite into it, and I was like, okay, yeah, this guy would be perfect for this. It's kind of like a council estate noir kind of thing, like Green Room meets Dead Man's Shoes.
Oh my word!
So that's going to be kind of
It's a real happy-go-lucky, family-friendly story. Then is that what you're saying?
Yeah, man. No, it's horrible. It's kind of based on, well, a lot of ideas of stuff that I know have happened to people or people that I know, and I talked about it with Johnny and some stuff that he's kind of experienced or whatnot, and it's kind of getting put into this book. That's going to probably, I don't know, it's not going to be too grim and gritty, but it'll be black and white and grey, and proper it's grim up north stuff. But I think it'll be fun as well. Beautiful,
yeah. I think Johnny's incapable of doing something that isn't fun in some kind of way.
Yeah, that'll be good. I've done another kind of spin-off script from Merrick. I'd kind of like Luke to draw it, but we'll have to see with time and whatnot.
Yeah,
kind of a sci-fi H.G. Wells, H.P. Lovecraft kind of thing.
Oh wow,
nice. That ties into the Merrick stuff.
Oh, nice one.
So we just have to find the time for that. But yeah, most importantly, more Merrick. Basically, like the new issues are kind of crazy. It all kind of leads through to like volume 3. So the volume 3 paperback is going to be like something stupid, like 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 issues. So each of them is getting thicker each time as well. Obviously, we kind of get more ambitious and come up with stupid plans for the future.
I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to push yourself further every time, haven't you? Because that's when you create the work that you're most proud of. And
I worry about kind of retreading the same kind of ground. So I definitely kind of want to do different things and experiment with different ideas as well.
Nice.
So yeah.
Well, we will. I mean, obviously, right now. Most importantly, get those books printed, sorted, and sent out, people. Because I want mine. I want mine now, Tom. I want it now.
It's going to be our fastest one yet. That I'm hoping they're going to be with people by the end of this month. To be honest.
Oh wow,
nice.
Amazing.
Amazing. I've got the package and stuff prepped. I've got basically just need the backer reports should arrive at the same time as the books. Nice. I've kind of learned how to do my mail merges. We've got the packaging thing down to a fine art. And get it out really fast, because ideally I think we're going to want to do like the next issue Kickstarter almost as soon as that arrives with people.
Oh wow. Fantastic. Wow. On the case, man.
Momentum.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean whenever people get it, it's just going to be quality as soon as it arrives in your inbox or your door or whatever, and we love it, dudes. Yeah, just keep up the awesome work.
Keep up the good work. Yeah.
Because we do love it, and looking forward to seeing more of it. I'm guessing in terms of like the volume 2 trade, you're gonna mail out all the Kickstarter backers before it becomes available on your shop, or is it?
What I tend to do is, as soon as the Kickstarter ends, I always set up a pre-order on the online store, merrickcomic.co.uk. So that's down as pre-order now. So, if you don't like using Kickstarter, or some people's kind of cards don't work on it or whatnot, you can use our big cartel store and pay with PayPal.
Oh, got you.
And then basically what happens is I prioritise the pre-orders after the Kickstarter.
Got you.
So the Kickstarter stuff all goes out first, and the next priority is the pre-orders. And then once they're all out, it'll just be listed as like general release. Awesome. But again, that should be really fast. So if you are interested in getting the book, you can just kind of pre-order it from the store.
Yeah, so that's merrickcomic.co.uk. And where can people find you and your good wares online, etc., and find out more?
Yeah, so our online store is merrickcomic.co.uk. That's where you can buy kind of physical issues. You can download the first issue for free as well. Comixology is probably the place to go for digital issues, unless you do want to wait for the next Kickstarter, and they'll probably be a bit cheaper than Comixology. You can follow me on Twitter at highbrowtrash. No, I am trash, but I feel like I'm quite highbrow. And Luke is at Art of Parker. I think Luke's Instagram is at Art of Parker as well. It might be worth following on Instagram. He posts probably a bit more there. And he does, the kind of other superhero stuff. He'll do a Batman or a Wolverine from time to time or whatever. That people, the kids like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about everything.
Are you guys going to be at Thought Bubble this year? Hopefully, if it all goes ahead.
I didn't apply. I'm
Look at that. He's going to be around the Caribbean on his yacht.
I'm going to be at home, mate. Same as everyone.
Yeah.
I didn't have 45 minutes to fill an application form in for someone that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I hope it happens for everyone who's excited about it. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, but you can still get his books from the website anyway. So
yeah. I don't like leaving my house. You don't like leaving your house.
No. You can always do a kitchen con. We didn't touch on that.
Kitchen con, yeah.
I really wanted to do a Christmas kitchen con special with the Christmas tree behind me and a fire and that, and I wanted to do one for the Kickstarter, but then I just couldn't be asked.
Yeah. I appreciate your honesty.
I'll do another one, when things settle down a little bit.
Yeah. The original and the first was Tom Ward's Kitchen Con.
A lot of pretenders now.
Yeah, everyone's doing
the charge entry.
Yeah. Everyone's doing a digital con, but Tom was the first.
It's hard work because I did it on my Jacks on one of the kitchen cons, and you're just talking to the camera with no interaction. You really got to have someone.
You got to have a real Bob Ross about you, haven't you? Just sort of yeah.
It's uncanny, isn't it? Like the time moves so slow.
Yeah.
And you're just there staring at that screen. You learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah. It's a real test of character.
I cannot wait for the next kitchen con because I will check out every fucking table to see all these people learning about themselves now.
That's what I do, after it finishes, I'd sit there all night watching everyone's thing. I think it was like nearly 15, 20 people on one of them, and it was like each of them doing an hour just watching like a mad person on my phone.
Like fucking Robin Williams from 1 Hour Photo. Jesus Christ.
Just like I'm eating my tea, my phone's up, watching someone do a kitchen con. I'm washing the dishes, my phone's up, watching someone do a kitchen con. Brushing my teeth, watching a kitchen con. It's hard to get it all in.
Oh dear. But yeah, thanks for joining us this week, Tom. You've been an absolute legend. See you in another 300 episodes to find out where you are.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. See you in 300.
Yeah. See you in the next 300.
Take it easy, Tom.
Take it easy, guys. Bye now.
There you go, folks. A little back. I think a lot of our listeners haven't listened to some of the early shows. I certainly haven't listened to any of our early shows. I know you guys listened to episode 1 recently. I can't.
Yeah, I've not really gone back to many shows and listened to them through.
It's interesting because I was speaking to Eamon yesterday. He used our show as a bit of a resource for when we did our Kirby Fantastic Four episode. So he went back and listened to our Kirby episode and our Stan Lee episodes.
That Kirby one was great.
And then he recommended them on his show, which is quite nice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Speaking of Kirby, Tony Esmond sent me and Dan an absolute banger of a song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is good.
Any rap song that uses Jack Kirby's voice has got to be worth it, innit?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down with mostly the grime. I do. I'm a big fan of the grime.
Dubstep.
Oh, God.
And the dubstep, yeah. And but that was really good. I really like that song, yeah. We started a nice little feature on the Facebook page, comic-based music. Which is good.
Mm.
Really?
Have you ever heard of the band Kirby Crackle?
Oh, God, yeah.
No.
Yeah, they're good. They do songs like Great Lakes Avengers and all this sort of thing. It's good.
Yeah, because I know them from Comic Geek Speak. They did the theme
from right.
Geek Speak.
My son's well into them. I got him a load of signed CDs in America one year.
Yeah. Because they do a lot of, they used to do a lot of live gigs at actual conventions, didn't they? I think they...
Yeah, they did, yeah. That's why in New York I saw them. I think they were gigging at a pub around the corner or something. Yeah.
Sorry to get all wanky and talk about TV comments. Is there anyone watching fucking Falcon and Winter Soldier? It seems like
I haven't caught up.
I haven't caught up yet, but okay.
I've watched every one but the new one. Yeah, I was saving that for tomorrow.
Because everyone was all over that WandaVision, but no one seems to be kind of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, no one's spoiling it.
That's more my cup of tea, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think it will be.
Yeah.
I watched. But is it good? All I need to know from you guys, is it enjoyable?
I like it. I think there's a couple of moments in that really fucked me off.
Okay.
I'll tell you later.
Fair play.
But yeah, I'm like, oh really? But I watched Invincible. I watched all of it last night. I watched the first 4 episodes.
Oh, I haven't watched the fourth
That
one
was
yet.
very like the comic. I was impressed that they've held to the comic on that.
I am thoroughly enjoying that.
I've
only got the first 10 minutes in the first episode, and I've been really like, oh, do I want to carry on with this? Because I don't know. I'd rather just do it.
Yeah, I was a bit like that, man. I watched the first 10, 15 minutes and then left it for a couple of weeks. And then because my son really likes it, I watched it just so we can chat about it on Skype and that. And I don't really like cartoons. I don't really watch cartoons ever, really.
Yeah.
But I only watched it because I wanted it to be like the comic. And it is quite like the comic, I have to say.
Did it play out like I thought it would, Tony? And that when I said the first art series would be...
I won't spoil it.
No,
okay.
We can't spoil it.
Yeah.
But
I think you need to see it. Yeah.
Okay.
It is one of those. Yeah, they naturally
becomes increasingly more violent as well.
Yeah.
Like the comic.
They naturally sort of like a good comic. The first episode is left with a oh shit,
Right.
And then by that time you bought in it. I was actually quite impressed that they're 45 minutes an episode as well.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by that. It's at moments a little too manga for my taste. So you kind of get a little bit of the sweat on the brow stuff occasionally and things like that. But
no, I like all that. I tell you what, I'm kind of getting more on board with comic book stuff being animated than live action. To be fair, I'm just sort of like I think it can do. I say that.
Oh mate, they said some news last week. Oh, we're going to do a Zatanna live action movie, and they were trying to get everyone excited for it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often has she been in a comic?
Yeah. No, just don't do that character as a live film.
A waste of time.
Yeah.
There's so many fucking characters you could go for.
Yeah.
And there's a fucking audience, Phil. There's the people going on about the Zack Snyder cut and not doing great numbers.
It's getting good word of mouth,
Yeah.
And to be fair, I was talking about this yesterday, but I'm kind of pleased that they've cancelled the New Gods movie because I only want a New Gods movie if Jack Kirby's involved.
Okay, and that
because Jack Kirby is the New Gods, and it's so his book. I don't give a fuck if some new wave writer wants to write it. It's not New Gods as far as I'm concerned. I'm not interested in it. Yeah, that's my grumpy old bloke feelings about it. But,
yeah. But of course, as always, like what you like. Don't be a dick. And I watched it in two sections because anyone who watches the Snyder cut in one go is probably a maniac. Did you watch it all in one go, Tony?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Oh, nice one, too.
No, I didn't know. It was in 2 bits. I watched it in 2 bits.
2 bits. More power.
I got a bit entranced. I kept rewinding the bit where the Icelandic women do a song that goes on for ages, and I kept going back to it and thinking that's a bit weird.
That was the weird bit, but I enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I liked him, man. Yeah. Any goodness is in it.
Yeah.
Which goes back to what I was just saying, but it's
and there's a lot of characters that get more time than they really fucking. Do you know what I mean?
But it's. Oh, do you know what? I'd rather read the Justice League comic.
Yeah.
Fuck it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's there. Watch it if you want. Don't watch it if you want. And you should read the books. Speaking of reading books, this show's all about comics, and never mind all that TV show nonsense. Why am I going to the recommendations? Because surely we've got some shout-outs. I tell you what, this fucking Easter
I didn't know
weekend,
we started. We had done, didn't we?
Yeah, we had done.
That's the thing is, long weekends mixed with this weird timey-wimey nonsense that we're in with lockdowns and all of this jazz and hot weather. I mean, I'm slightly pickled today. My brain's like soup.
You been on the piss?
No, I can't handle my booze anymore.
I can't. I'm shit at drinking. I used to be really good at it.
Yeah, I have half a Bud Light and I got Windy Pops.
I have half a lager now, and I hear someone shouting, "Let's do shots!" Yeah, and I realise it's me.
Do we have any shout-outs this week, those gents?
I can't think of any, man.
Yeah, I've got a few. So Joseph Simons, thanks for the brilliant badges, man.
Oh, God,
yes, apart from that, they were fucking amazing.
Hello, Joseph. He saw me, and I think he waved hello to me, but I didn't acknowledge him.
When was this?
Oh, well, the weekend. This weekend.
Really? Yeah. Oh, it was at the Drink and Draw, wasn't he? We thanked him at that, so that was good.
Yeah.
Which was another triumph.
Yes.
Yeah, really good. Couple of Kickstarters. So Akira Wordsmith by Ian Ashcroft.
Oh yeah.
Is The In-Betweener. It's all drawn. It's ready to rock. Ready to go out. I've seen a load of it. It looks amazing. So get on that. It's already like 360% or something. The new Penguin book, Burnout, from Al Henderson. That's on Kickstarter now. It's only got a few days left, actually, by the time he listens to this. But that's already at 385%. But that is no reason not to get behind it.
Yeah.
Al's got it knocked together, and he's got it nailed down.
Yeah. Totally.
Around Kickstarters. He knows what he's doing, and it all comes out, and it's great. And he sent me a bit of toilet paper with the last one, which made me laugh. As I said, it's always a good book to have in the toilet, so he sent me some toilet paper as well.
Lovely.
Good. There you go. They're my ones.
I think it's about this. I can't think. I'm gonna think of ones afterwards. Is that what you do as well, Dan?
Usually when we get past and think, oh fucking hell, this, and this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's another good one is Strangers dropped their books on the 2nd. So Strangers fanzine, who we had Eddie on a few months ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Every so often they get in, which is how they do it with us, actually. They get a load of books in, they get a small print run through of books, and they stick them out. And I had an alarm set on my phone for 4:59 because it was going live at 5.
Yeah.
And I kept refreshing, and then I started buying books. And only because I got that thing from PayPal where they said, we need to text you a code, did I lose out on a couple of the books because they were selling out so quickly. That's how quickly they sold out. I think
wow.
With a couple of exceptions, last I looked, there was one issue of Strangers fanzine, 5 left. But the rest are just all gone. Incredible. That is the hotness at the moment, man. That is the hotness. It really
the underground kind of comic
scene.
It
is the bucking against the system. We get this in times of crisis, don't we? We get a new rise of a new comics format, and a new little side of comics comes out, and we got it in the in the 70s with the financial problems. We got 2000 AD. We got it in the rise of superhero comics, during the war. But now we're getting it during COVID, and it seems to be Strangers fanzine that are leading the way. Absolutely brilliant. We sent him a little message. I sent him a message from our pod Twitter, and he's over the moon. So that's good.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Speaking of awesome, God, how's about that for tying into the actual name of the show? Do we have any recommendations this week, chaps? I do not. Because I swear I've read things, but I'm not sure what I've read. I've got a pile of things that I need to read. But Tony's, I tell you what, Tony's going to do one of his in my voice. No, he's not. But I know you got a couple this week, Tony. Do you want to kick us off? I got
2 to do, so I'm just screen sharing one of them. Now, this is just a very quick one because I haven't had a proper chance to read it.
Oh, I know what this is.
And I showed this at the Drink and Draw, didn't I? To everyone at the Drink and Draw, I screen shared with this. And this is The Strange Death of Alex Raymond by Dave Sim and Carson Grimbo. I'm going to say, look at that cover. Look at that. How gorgeous. That's a geezer who can draw. Look at that.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I'll scan you through to some of the... It's a hard one to describe, and it's 300 odd pages, so I haven't read it all. And it's very, very multi-layered. And it's partially autobiographical. Sim appears himself. There's bits about things. There's bits about Alex Raymond and bits that are not about him. And there's self-referential bits. So you look at all this gorgeous... It starts off in a street in the snow. Just look at that. That's
great.
Just incredible. And it slowly drills down into the shop, and there's a girl behind the counter, sort of hipster girl with a woolly hat on. Drills. And then she's looking at a copy of The Strange Death of Alex Raymond in her hand. And it's so cleverly layered. There's Sim talking about an issue of Alter Ego. Look at that. And it flips about...
None of you lovely listeners can see this.
Yeah,
no, you can't
Tony's scrolling through the PDF on screen, and it's lovely.
Black and white. Realistic, but with an old school style to it, I think. It is just an absolute, utter masterclass in comics. Compare this to some of the comics we see these days, and this dude, and there's just non sequiturs, and it just shoots off at different angles, and he uses models as, look at these people he draws. They're just so beautifully drawn. They're like, some of them are straight out of the Sunday Funnies of Rip Kirby, and some of them are, just look, there's an Al Williamson drawing in it, who actually strangely looks, I know Pete Dory went into Al Williamson, I showed that, actually looks a bit like Pete Dory to me. It's funny. Shout out to Pete there, but it's there's some stuff which is as if Dave Sim is Charlie Brown, and it's incredible, and it needs so much consideration. This is not a review, this is a novel, this is a whole book, a whole documentary to describe why this is this and why they do this. And there's quite a good drawing of a young Neil Adams there circa 1977, and it's a history of comics, it's a history of a lot of things, and I absolutely adore it. It's I was going to review it this week, but I just didn't have enough time to give it the care that I thought
justice.
Yeah, but there's that. It's out. I'll send it to you boys. We got a preview copy sent through. I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
We got a preview copy sent through. It was very kind, and I'll probably try and write something, or try and do justice to it, I think is what I would like to do. But yeah, incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible. There you go. That's the first one. The Strange Death of Alex Raymond. Look for it. I've already pre-ordered mine, and so should you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Dan, do you want to go next?
I've been going back into an old classic. I've read this book in the past, and I don't have many memories of the ending of it, but very fond memories of the beginning of the book series, and it's Akira. I ordered the first. I don't know where I've used to have these on book in all these books, but I don't know where they're gone. So I've ordered myself book one, and I read through that this week, and it brings back so many fun memories. This came out in the 1980s, and it was a real kind of, the animation at least was a real turning point in the UK of sort of bringing manga into the kind of the forefront, where once it had been on periphery. Now Akira was sort of like, it became like a tentpole film, and people went after it. But the manga, well, I think the anime or the manga, I can never remember the fucking difference. But this book is, it's fucking lovely. The edge and the danger in it is just so real, and the world like Koshiro Otomo crafts, it just feels so kind of grimy, and it's got a grunge, and there's a realness to it, of these kind of telling the story of these biker kids and how they get involved with this government faction that are harvesting extrasensory powers, and it just set so much of a kind of a trend that many followed afterwards, that I think Akira rightly gets a lot of kind of nods from creators, because it does what it does so well, and like there's death, murder, sex, violence, everything in this comic, and I really enjoy it. And one of the things I'm looking forward to, I can't remember how it ends. The book is significantly different to the animated film, where it changes when Akira comes back into the world. But I know in the books, from what I can remember, that it triggers like another sort of like extinction event in Neo Tokyo, and everything's knocked back, and there's like almost post-apocalyptic scenario where they're trying to survive on the streets, and the main character disappears for a while. Canada, wherever you pronounce it. So I'm looking forward to getting the other volumes in and reading through it.
I've never. It's one of the major series I still have yet to read any of.
Right.
Each one's like a phone book.
Yeah.
That
scares me about a lot of those sort of series as well. But
you can buy. There's a big, nice box set of it, isn't it? You can buy. I think it's worth investing in. I think.
Yeah. It's like 120, 100 and something, maybe less.
Well, when you think of how many volumes there are in there, that's not too bad. You'd probably spend that if you bought them singles, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Set on my loud keyboard.
Oh yeah, his keyboard from Jurassic Park.
He touched typist.
260 quid. Says
Bloody hell, that is too much. I'm not buying that.
I think there's only 6 volumes, so I don't know why there's so much. Maybe I'm this completely uneducated. Me Google it online while we're on the.
Okay.
There's one on Amazon 35th anniversary, but that's 144 on this on Amazon. So there you go. I think because it's sold out, and people are flogging it for massively marked up prices.
Yeah. But I think it's one that I need to read at some point. But
yeah, I think so. I've read it, most of it, years ago. But I think if I had the time, I would reinvest. The same as one of those ones like I need to reread Cerebus every so often. I think that should be my next project, and I haven't got that much time in my life anymore.
Yeah.
This sort of thing,
Yeah.
It's weird. Sometimes I'll kind of build up like this. Oh God, I better read that. And I feel like the weight of it almost crushes me. But then when you get into it, you just blast through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm like with actually sort of Invincible. Actually, I want to start Invincible. That's another series that I've been meaning to just start, because I know you did that recently, didn't you, Dan? Did you read it from the
I started reading. Yeah, I've got through the first two.
Yeah. I don't have
the series. Yeah.
I don't have too many series.
Do you own any of that, Vince?
Hey?
Do you own any?
I only own the first trade paperback, I think. But now that I've become a weirdo,
the small one.
Yeah, the small one. Yeah. But now that I've become a weirdo for like omnibuses and big hardcovers and things like that, I think
you may as well just hand your wallet in at the local Amazon if you get a chance.
Yeah.
Just know that you won't have any money for the rest of your life.
I think because I know Invincible's got some big omnibuses, hasn't it? That's got a few.
It's like that Kaiju Max omnibuses. They're great as well.
Yeah.
Similar.
Oh, God, that's another one that's on the list. My God.
I've already got the trades for Invincible, and I'm going back and doing the Ultimate Collections. I don't know why I'm doing that.
Because you're a fan,
9
Dan.
trades, but I haven't got the large ones, and I read the rest on Comixology.
It's one of your favourite series, Dan.
Yeah, I've got it from about issue, I think it's 50 onwards.
What, singles?
I tried to fill in the previous ones, but then it starts getting like 200 quid for an issue.
It will be now, isn't it?
My word.
Yeah. Do I want it that badly? No, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
anyway, onward.
Anyway, so Tony, take us home.
I think just a quick information message is it's now, what is it, the 4th of April as we're recording, 5th of April if you listen to this on the day of release. Yeah. On the 29th of April is Barry Windsor Smith's new book, which is called Monsters. So you need to go and pre-order that. So trust me, that'll be the book of the year. Go and pre-order it.
Oh, wow.
It's been long promised. So it's, everyone's talking about that one. So I'm going to talk about, I just screen share, I'm going to talk about a book called Bloom that I got through on a Kickstarter. So it's a Kickstarter book. So this Bloom issue 1. It's writer, layouts, colours and letters, Ted Sikora, who I think is kind of the publisher as well. Pencils, inks and layouts by Butch Mapper. Inking assist, I think he does 5 or 6 pages, is Chris Eriswender. And flatting is Anthony Queason. It's published by Hero Tomorrow Comics, who I had not heard of before. Have you heard of them, guys?
No, I've never heard of that one.
They're a bit of a thing. They're I think they're an American-based company. They've got a couple of series. Now, I didn't realise until I read this, and then I went back and did a bit of a deep dive on them, is this character, Regina, who's the character on the covers, who's a sort of hippy-dippy, she looks like a sort of Native American, maybe at moments like a Romany gypsy kind of 60s character, is a character in a previous book as well. So this is kind of telling her story.
Mate, the flatter on this must have had a heart attack on this cover.
Imagine.
You have to put this in the chat because Jesus Christ.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. It's that's the cover that caught my attention. There's a number of other covers. They've done because it's a Kickstarter, they have a series of covers. They've done a sort of faux romance one with a thought bubble on the cover, which I kind of like. Then they've done a Kickstarter cover that is loads of faces.
Ah, that's interesting.
And I reckon I haven't looked this up, but I reckon
that's
pledges. Yeah, that's back.
Yeah. So he look. That's his sex face, surely there. Yeah. I know. But and then there's a few covers. They're all pretty good actually. I kind of like them all. I think that's probably the weakest one, which is the backer one. But if you don't care if you're a backer, are you? Because you're going to get your drawing on the cover. That's the sort of thing. But I really like the first one, which is an acid trip of a cover, and the central figure covered in tattoos or covered in painting, which we'll get onto in a minute, and there's a little bit of the lysergic in this comic. So it's based in 1969 in Cleveland. It's based most of it is based around the same weekend as Woodstock, which we all know is the 15th to the 18th of August 1969. Ramsey is the central character, and he is a mechanic at a garage. He's a comic artist as well. He desperately wants to be a comic artist, is his main thing. He gets ribbed a lot by his co-workers. At one point he goes and buys a mannequin because he wants to practice. The villain in his comic is called Regina. The villain in his comic rather is this female witchy character, and she's covered in almost like tribal markings. You've got to remember in 1969 people didn't really have tattoos unless you were a sailor, you know. Now everyone's got a neck tattoo, haven't they, seemingly? You know, you can be the CEO of a big company and have, you know, a neck tattoo or something. But he's created this story, and he's got this girlfriend and some friends, and they go to a gig, and he's kind of a little bit more out there. He's trying to push his personal experiences and stuff than perhaps most of his friend circle. And they go to a gig, and while he's there, he sees a woman dancing on the stage who is this Regina, and she is just this utter raven-haired, attractive, hippy-dippy, bracelet-wearing, flowers in her hair, kind of free spirit. And he approaches her and he says, "Look, I'd really like to I'd really like to photograph you and use you as reference for the drawings for my comic." And she says, okay, and she gives him a phone number, which he's quite surprised at. And he tries to make contact with her a few times, and his girlfriend doesn't really understand. And eventually she meets him, and they go out into the woods together. And they slowly get to know each other. It's quite clever. They get to know each other as the story progresses, and he reveals a bit more of himself, and he reveals a bit more of the origins of the comic, and she reveals a bit more about her nature. He paints the signs on her, and they find an old prehistoric-looking rock. They find an old cabin in the woods, and it's kind of where it goes. I'm not going to share with the listeners what happens in the last panel, but I'm going to share it with you on the screen there. If you can see that.
What the?
Can you see what's happening in that picture?
I'm trying to...
Just to the right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens. So that's how it ends. Yeah. It's an interesting first issue. It's very capably done. I'm still going backwards and forwards on this bit, actually, because when I read it, I thought, well, it's 40 odd pages of story, this, which is not bad, is it?
Yeah.
But what exactly happens in it? There's a lot of foreshadowing, and there's bits where he's getting her to pose in front of the camera, and he's saying, like, be angry, be fierce, and this sort of thing. She's acting this out. And part of me is thinking that's a foreshadowing of what's going to come. We're going to get this big moment in the comic where she's suddenly going to turn evil and produce magical powers, whatever it is. But it doesn't completely and utterly go there. It's only the first issue of a 4-issue miniseries, so I kept having to say to myself, calm down. Doesn't have to happen. But then I thought again, well, it's a comic, so something has to happen. I sort of jumped a bit about with that. I won't spoil the ending. There is, as you can see there, something of a cliffhanger or surprising ending, I suppose. Is it surprising? When you read the comic, you may not find it that surprising. But it's well done. What they do is well done. I'm not sure. I think maybe I hate the term story editor because I don't think anyone should predict what a story should be to a writer because he's got it in his head. But I think an editor, let's call it an editor for formatting and pacing and stuff, I think can be useful. I think maybe a little editorial. I think if this was a graphic novel of 160 pages, I'd have loved it. I think this would make the first section of reading it really interesting, and I'd have ploughed through. I am on board for issue 2. I think I've already done that sign up thing you can do on Kickstarter, which is always wise. And I think it goes live next month, or this month actually, April. So it's quick because this ended the campaign a week ago, I think, and I got the comic the day before yesterday. So that's good. Unfortunately, because it's an American company, it's not worth pledging to the single issues because it costs you 3 times a single issue to get it posted to you. But this is pretty good. Solid art. I like the art. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's solid. It's strong. It does exactly what you need it to do. There's quite a bit of acting in it, which I think works. He draws her well. He draws the main. I'm going to call him protagonist. Well, it speaks a story, and it's not necessarily told traditionally. There's a couple of pages which have this sort of multi-image thing going on, which is good. I'm going to put him near to someone like Norton, I think. With because he knows what he's doing about how to draw things. So there's none of this sort of hiding behind a style. He knows how to draw physicality and backgrounds and trees and buildings and stuff like that. But there's also the cartoony in there as well, which I kind of like, which I think goes well. You can find them at what's the name of it now? It is. Let me just scroll to the top. Sorry. Hero Tomorrow Comics. If you look at them up on Twitter, you find them Hero Tomorrow Comics. Just look up Hero Tomorrow Comics on Kickstarter. You'll be able to sign up for it, and I think they are on Comixology. You can. I think they're only 79p the issues of the other series that he's got going. But look them up. It's good. It's good, solid comics, man. It's good. There's nothing flashy. There's no look at me crap going on. They're just making nice comics, and I kind of dig it. And that first cover, that's good enough to be a Marvel comic to me. It's good enough to be a Dynamite cover to me. This could easily be a Dynamite character, and I think it's really well done.
Yeah, it's a very professional looking cover.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it really is. There you go. So that's Bloom, issue 1. There you go.
There you go. Some wild, strange, and wonderful comics to check out this week. And there you go. We've kicked off the next 300. We haven't. We didn't start again at issue 1, episode 1. We're going for the long run. What do they call them? Is it legacy runs? Is that what, like when Marvel went back to their original numbering?
Yeah, but then they had the number underneath, didn't they? So this is legacy numbering. So
yeah. Well, we're a legacy in ourselves, in our own minds. So yeah, but stay tuned. We hope you for the next 300, because God knows where this is going to go. But we got some great guests coming up, all different from different sides of comics. Some interesting talk coming up, but you'll just have to stay tuned to find out.
I'm gonna check that he's good for next week now. I'll send him a message while we're talking.
Splendid. We won't announce it this week, just in case.
No, just in case.
Yeah, just in case. We like to tease you, and if you don't like the way we tease you, I almost started singing Shaka Demus and Pliers, and I'm not going to do that. But if you want me to do that, then you should get in touch with us and email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @TheAwesomePod, where sometimes Dan put out a thread this week, which absolutely took off. So
someone nicked it and used said stolen from the Awesome Pod and tweeted us into it. And yeah, that one's still going.
Have you
seen that one?
No, I haven't yet. I need to catch up on it. I know when it did absolutely take off. Very much just shout out to indie creators and let us know about your book, which is what this show's all about. So definitely check out the Twitter @TheAwesomePod and find out about that thread and discover some fantastic books. Because I
downloaded Steamroller Man.
Oh, amazing! There's some stuff on there that you will want to check out. We certainly have discovered stuff from that thread, so that's the importance of stuff like that. However, if you do the Book of Faces, go to facebook.com/awesomecomicspodcast. Join our wonderful community group, Awesome Comics Talk, where it is people who listen to this show and other just wonderful people who just want to join a community that talks about comics, making comics events. We have there are art threads. There's all kinds of good stuff going on there. So definitely, if you do Facebook, join that group, because it'll be the only thing on Facebook that you check out, to be honest, to be fair. And thank you for listening to us, whether it's on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe and leave a review. It helps get the word out about the show, and more people will find out about the strange, weird and wonderful stuff that we talk about every week. Also, if you listen to us on any other sort of networks like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife, what other networks are you on, Tony?
Podfake Taxi.
Lovely. There was a big discussion about what that was at the Drink and Draw.
The funniest bit was Sarah, who was about half a bottle of wine in, and she went, "I'm going to Google it," and we went, "No!"
And the chorus of "No" was amazing. Don't do it, don't do it. So people realising how their naughty behaviour might have done something bad.
I started a rumour. A mate of mine I used to work with 5 years ago was the first person ever to be in Fake Taxi, and no word of a lie, he texted me about 2 weeks ago saying, "Yeah, that Fake Taxi rumour's still going around."
They don't learn, do they?
No. And neither do you, because you still listen to us, folks. Thank you very much for listening to us this week. Where can people find us and our general madness? And Tony, you should put the do you have a Patreon link? If not
yet. I think it's just patreon.com/tribute press.
Yeah, that's what you should look for. Yeah, whenever you listen to this, just go there, and hopefully
just go to the Tribute Press Twitter and it'll be announced on there, which is @Tribute Press.
Cool. And but what about you and your stuff, Tony?
Neveronanything.com. I put some images up from my review today, so you can see them as well.
Brilliant. Dan?
You can find me on Twitter at Vanguard Comic, and you can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com. I foolishly didn't update on Friday because it was Good Friday. Completely slipped my mind that it was Friday on that day, so I didn't update.
It was funny that Friday because loads of people didn't come to the drink and draw because they forgot it was Friday.
Yeah,
kind of get. Mind you, it was busy still, but it was a few people.
It kind of just went out my head, and I was like, it was like 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, and I was like, oh, I didn't fucking update it, and I had it all ready to go. But oh well.
I've got to do another. I'm doing another video this week. Another Tony's.
Hey, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
amazing. That's great. That's a great idea, Tony. We should talk about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
We should do one. We should do one.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
My first initial was like, I'll do you, but then that was
do your mum. Yeah. So that.
Anyway, if you can find me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Jester Diablo. Thank you very much for listening. As always, we truly appreciate it. And here's to the next 300. So from Dan, Tony, and myself, have a brilliant week. Read loads of comics. Stay safe and healthy, and stay away from the idiots. And just read and make lots of comics because we want to read them. And until you hear our lovely voices again, what do they do, guys?
Stay fucking awesome.
Oh, he added in a rude word. He's leveling up, Dan.
Time.
Yeah,
SFA.
Yeah, you were pretty much in time then.
Yeah. SFA. Yeah. Have a look at Chris Samney's Twitter. He's just drawing you Saga your Jimbo. Fucking hell.
Oh, mate.
Fuck this. Let's end this episode and go look at it now. Bye, everyone.
To Twitter.
Bye.